this is Tim Pierce. I haven't posted in a while. I've been doing a lot of sessions, and when they call, I come, and there's been a lot of them. So the video you're about to see was shot in 2 different segments, and also there's some footage of the session I did yesterday just to show you what I've been doing. It's a job I love, and sometimes it comes in waves, and I can't do a YouTube video because I'm doing that every day. Before we start on the 10 guitar tips, there's actually 11, I think, but who's counting? I'm just going to show you a little film from yesterday down at East West Studios in Hollywood. Click the link below if you want to take the 14-day free trial in our online masterclass. We're up to over 100 hours of content and over 1,000 videos. I got new curtains from my wife. You'll see the difference in the 2 segments in the video. It's a really nice thing to get for my birthday. It's new. Every man wants new curtains for his birthday, right? I got some other stuff too.
Be free?
Hay un pasillito antes de la silla, y haces derecha ahí, y vas a donde están los no, pero E flat or E?
E flat.
Okay.
Right? And then A flat again.
Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
And 2 bars of F sharp.
Got it.
I don't know if it's the right solo or not, so if you want to listen to it, you can. Or, okay.
Yeah? I can do another one with Tim if you want to.
How much heart and soul can you put into your playing? I mean, how do you describe that? How do you teach it? I'm not sure, but I know that one of the reasons I've worked as much as I have is I tend to do simple parts like my life depends on them. And that's not an exaggeration, because I suppose for all the years that I worked as a session musician and continue to work in that profession, it's kind of do or die. When you show up and somebody wants you to do something, you have to own it to the extent that you're playing it like you've played it your whole life. And it may be the first time you've played it. So what I'm talking about is when you play a riff, your commitment to it is to make it sound like a record the first time. It's like a Pink Floyd record or a Jimi Hendrix record or any record that you've loved. You have to sit down and execute it the first time, even if it's an arpeggio. And in soloing, it's even more important. Every simple phrase should be played with the utmost in authority. Now, I'm not talking about playing it hard or picking hard. If you notice, I'm picking as hard as I can part of the time and as soft as I can part of the time. But there's still authority, and I'm still trying to play it like it means the most to me, like it means more to me than anything in the world. And maybe it does. Maybe, I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm faking it. Every time I sit down and play the guitar, it's do or die. Artistically. It's not do or die in the real world. However, in my profession, it was, because I wouldn't get hired back, and then maybe I wouldn't get to keep doing this for a living, and maybe I wouldn't be able to pay my rent. so on and so forth. You get the picture. So one of the ways that I really try and have authority is I make sure that I'm playing with the drums and I'm not rushing ahead. Let me demonstrate that. Now right there, I just got ahead of the snare, and I don't want to do that. Check it out. Monitor volume is crucial in playing in the pocket. And if you're too soft, you don't get the dynamics because you have to fight hard. You have to pick loud and give up your sensitivity in order to be heard. But if you're too loud, and I am a little too loud right here, you lose the drums a bit. So let me turn myself down a hair. Try that one more time. I'll turn the overall up just a hair. Let me turn myself down even a little more because I want to hear the drums nice and loud. Here we go. Let me demonstrate the effectiveness of dynamics in your playing. Really hitting some notes hard, which I do with my wrist, so I don't tense up at all. And then other notes soft. I do it all the time, and the trick is to create phrases that sound like sentences that you're speaking by doing certain notes loud and certain notes soft. So the timbre changes radically. And for this kind of playing, you do need to have a sound that's just slightly gained up and not totally saturated with distortion. That way you can make it read clean anytime you want. I'll make it read clean. When I say read clean, I mean it will be perceived as clean by you and the listener. Got all this range of gain just by picking hard, and that's where I like to live if possible. Now what happens is I'll be loud in the track when I get a sound like this up, so I have to pay attention to the snare drum, make sure I don't race ahead of it. The other thing that happens is all the little bumps and noises that are inherent in electric guitar playing, all those little things are more likely to pop out. So you have to keep control of your muting. And that means maybe the palm of the right hand is always in play, and all the flesh from these fingers is always in play also. Anytime they're not being used, they're laying gently over the string. And another thing that a lot of guitar players don't talk about is when you play a note, at a certain point it becomes second nature for the flesh from this finger. You see it right there? It's actually touching the A string so that the A string doesn't sound. It's just an extra layer of protection. And then the arch right here is laying over these strings and muting them too. So when you have a very, very sensitive sound, you have to mute really, really kind of completely so that other stuff doesn't pop out. Now, squawks and squeaks on the guitar can actually be character, so you don't have to really worry about every single one. Those little things are kind of nice to hear, but you want to have control of them. And the way to have control is it becomes second nature. If you're not muting all the time, just work on it. And then all of a sudden, a year later, you won't be thinking about it. You'll just be muting all of the strings and only hearing the notes you want. The other thing you see I do, I hit really hard. Sometimes when I open a phrase, I do it really strong and I add gravity to it by plucking across all the strings on the way to the first note. So you get this big boom, kabrunk. There was a case where an extra string got blended in underneath as you pulled up. That was a mistake, but maybe a desirable one. So I'm trying to constantly vary the picking velocity, picking intensity, picking strength to get expression. Let me try and be really insensitive and just pick loud. See the difference? And let me be weak and just pick soft. I'm exaggerating, but you see both extremes. That's not authority. You want to have authority both with your strong picking and playing and your sensitive, quiet picking and playing. Now let's talk about rhythm authority. And my best tool for rhythm authority is to keep this hand going. Sometimes I'm striking air, sometimes I'm striking the guitar. I'll give it a try. I'm going to try up here on the 10th fret, this kind of traditional rock kind of thing against the track. This track is a challenge because it's a slow tempo. It's almost harder to play in pocket because the tempo is slow, so it's a good challenge. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Rushed ahead right there. So you heard me pause, you heard me hesitate. This is all kind of live, showing you what's going on. But the idea is to keep this going. And everything's being muted with all of these fingers in the flesh. But I am able to aim for the bottom two strings. If you're aiming for strings on the edge, an easy way to look at that is to angle up into these two and angle down into these two so that you're less likely to hit the strings you don't want. But it wouldn't have mattered in this case anyway because I had so much muting action going on here. So let me talk about a few other things that are in play here. I'm moving from a position where the wrist is way down because I'm actually doing a bar chord. And it's easier than it would be down here because I'm up at the 10th fret. But it's still that position where the wrist is way down and you're going across the guitar like this. Whereas most of the position I'm in when I'm playing leads and having my fun on the guitar is with the wrist up. This is a crucial thing. I spend most of my life enjoying the guitar, not playing bar chords with my wrist up here. Whether it be lead or rhythm. But I chose to play a part that I really liked that required me to do the kind of old-fashioned rock bar chord position. No other way to do it. To get that stretch, I have to put my wrist down here, and I even had to crouch over the guitar. So a solution for me was to put on a strap. That brings the guitar up just a little bit, and I can even lean it like this and get a better ergonomic position. That helps a lot. And then when I switch here, one thing that's actually working against me, this guitar has very low action. As my Andersons and my PRSs, I love for them to basically play themselves. I can really get around. But because the action is so low, it was actually hard for me to do this. I couldn't dig in enough. I got it, but I was on the edge of not getting it. The other thing in play here is for leads, I generally like to use this heavy pick with a point on it, Dunlop. Accuracy. Speed. Very firm. But for rhythms, it's a little easier to get a good pocket when you use a medium pick. It's a little more forgiving, and it kind of is elastic with your wrist, so you get a spank out of it that you don't get with this thing. That's more like a thunk. or just a hard, accurate strike that you get a spank out of. I'm also playing very light because paradoxically, the biggest tones come from hitting the guitar lightly and letting the amp and the gain bloom from it. If you hit it too hard, it collapses down. Now you can hit it hard for effect, but generally the body of this, I do pretty light. Basically, low action on this guitar is great when I have my wrist up, which I do most of the time, because that's where all the fun is for me. Playing partial pieces of chords, rather than the bar chord where I have to drop it down here. Ergonomically, everything crouches over. So if the action were higher, it would actually be a little easier for me to execute some of this stuff up here. I'll take it. I like the low action. I'll deal with it. I'll live with it. I'll make it work somehow. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. If you are a subscriber, please ring the bell. It lets us let you know every time a new video is released. You can also support us by clicking the link below for the online masterclass. As I always say, we're up to over 100 hours of lessons and content, over 1,000 videos, and we add more every month. There's a 14-day free trial. Take your time, take a long look. We'd love to have you join us.